Okay, let's move on to the next one, discussion consideration. I know, forgot that. Discussion consideration, the ethics complaint of Jim Griffith against Mayor Pat Stillwell, City Manager Mike Housefly, Town Attorney John King.
All right, we got a whole bevy of ethics complaints here tonight, so I'm going to begin by passing out a copy of the Code of Ethics for the town to all board members.
It's 14.
And I'll retain a copy for myself. So, and then I'm going to kind of explain how I want to go through these because it's going to take a while. And it's not exactly straightforward. So if y'all will flip to the second to last page, section 1-710, ethics complaints. It says the town attorney is designated as the ethics officer of the town. Upon written request of any official or employee potentially affected by a provision of this chapter, the city attorney may render an oral or written advisory ethics opinion based upon this chapter and other applicable law. So, I may render an oral or written opinion, right? But then if you go down to subsection 2 there, and A says, the city attorney shall investigate any credible complaint against an appointed official or employee charging any violation of the chapter, or may undertake an investigation of his own initiative when he acquires information indicating a possible violation, and make recommendations for action to end or seek retribution for any activity that, in the attorney's judgment, constitutes a violation of this code of ethics. Now then, subsection B is about the board hiring a third-party attorney to investigate complaints like we decided to do on the complaint filed by Ms. Parker. In subsection C, and this is important because y'all will have to deal with this tonight, says when a complaint of a violation of any provision of this chapter is lodged against a member of the town's Board of Mayor and Aldermen, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall either determine that the complaint has merit, determine that the complaint does not have merit, or determine that the complaint has sufficient merit to warrant further investigation. If the board determines that a complaint warrants further investigation, it shall authorize an investigation by the city attorney or another individual or entity chosen by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. All right. So, before y'all have to rule on those, because there's several of them that implicate our governing body members, I want y'all to know what our code of ethics is, right? So section 1-701 defines a personal interest. And it's essentially saying that a personal interest is any financial ownership or employment interest in the subject of a vote by a municipal board. So if your job, or if you have a company or a contract of some sort that could be implicated by a vote, it's any financial ownership or employment interest in a matter to be regulated or supervised. So if the board's going to come in and say the board's going to pass something about the beer board and you own a bar, that would qualify, right? At least I believe it would. C is any such financial ownership or employment interest of the officials or employee's spouse, parents, step-parents, grandparents, siblings, children, or stepchildren. And so then it says the words employment interest include a situation in which an official or employee or a designated family member is negotiating possible employment with a person or organization that is the subject of the vote or that is to be regulated or supervised. Now, a lot of these provisions in this ethics chapter involve these personal interests. Section 1703 is disclosure of personal interest by official with a vote. So if they fail to disclose they have a personal interest, then they could be in violation. Section 1704 is disclosure of personal interest in non-voting matters. And so that's when there's a voting matter, and then other than casting a vote, anybody who has a personal interest in the matter that affects or that would lead a reasonable person to infer that it affects the exercise of their discretion, they have to mention that on the record. Say, I've got a personal interest in this. 1705 is acceptance of gratuities. So if they're taking money in any way.
Yeah.
1706 is use of information. And I think the next three are the ones that are most often that people try to latch on to the most. So I'll just go ahead and read it.
It's about the bond.
1706, use of information. An official or employee may not disclose any information obtained in his official capacity or position of employment that is made confidential under state or federal law except as authorized by law. An official or employee may not use or disclose information obtained in his official capacity or position of employment with the intent to result in financial gain for himself or any other person or entity. Okay, use of municipal time, facilities, etc. An official or employee may not use or authorize the use of municipal time, facilities, equipment, or supplies for private gain or advantage to himself. That's still monetary in nature is what they're intending. Subsection 2 under that, an official or employee may not use or authorize the use of municipal time, facilities, equipment, or supplies for private gain or advantage to any private person or entity, except as authorized by legitimate contract or lease that is determined by the board of mayor and aldermen to be in the best interest of the town. So you can't get anybody else any money based on your municipal time, facilities, your position, basically. 1708, use of position or authority. An official or employee may not make or attempt to make private purchases for cash or otherwise in the name of the town. 2, an official or employee may not use or attempt to use his position to secure any privilege or exemption for himself or others that is not authorized by charter, general law, or ordinance or policy of the town. Now, 1709, I don't think is going to come into play. It's about outside employment. It's about 400 employees. So, I kind of wanted to give y'all a primer on the code before we discuss some of these, because they are going to implicate board members, and you're going to have to make a determination whether or not they're merited or they need further investigation. And without knowing exactly what you're trying to say that they hold merit for, it would be hard to do that, right? And I don't know if everybody's read the code of ethics, because I know that I wouldn't if I didn't have to, you know. So let's get right into these complaints. The first one is from October 14th of 2021. And actually, here's the other thing, and I'll just say this off the top. I'm not going to make any determination about any of the complaints that are against me or that implicate me in any way. And, I mean, for one thing, I don't think that that's fair, right? But beyond that, you know, the person lodging the complaints has covertly threatened me online with legal action. So I'm not going to do anything that's going to potentially open me up to legal action from a third party that, you know, could be seen as improper. I haven't gotten great guidance from anybody about what should or shouldn't be done in this situation, but in my estimation, and based on everyone I've talked to, I think all those need to be farmed out to a third party. In that interest, I have discussed with our insurer names of people that they're familiar with that handle this kind of work and would be capable of doing this. They provided me with, so for one thing, nobody local can do it because they all got conflicts that PEP would recommend. Jeff Ward works with me in my office. He's an attorney at the law firm with me. He represents them all over the place. Chris Rose represented the town in the lawsuit that most of these come from.
And we won that lawsuit.
Well, and then Sam McPeak is presently representing the town in a separate lawsuit. So I can't ask any of those people or anybody that works with them. So they gave me 4 names that I'm going to propose to you.
Do you know any of them?
The only one that I know, and I met him once, Benjamin Lauterbach. He's out of Knoxville. We had one deposition together on a car wreck case, and it's been 3 years ago. He was the person that I was going to tap, the first name that came to me for the Miss Partners investigation. But I didn't get down the road with him because all this other stuff came up, so I figured I'd just, put it up to y'all. The other thing is, I want you all to, I'm going to provide you with bios on the 4 people that PEP has recommended to me. And I want you to rank, I want everybody to rank them, and I guess I'll get a sheet of paper for everybody, or have everybody write down 1 through 4, you know, who they would pick, and we'll just do the math and see who it comes out to at 1, you know, who gets the best and the worst score. Because there is absolutely no guarantee that the first person I reach out to is even going to agree to do this. In fact, I could readily see them saying no, and saying that they want no part of it. So, you know, there's a chance that I have to reach out to all of them, you know, or more than one. And I plan to conduct all of those discussions via email so that there is a full written record of everything that transpires between myself and them. And you know, unfortunately, I think that I need to be the one that communicates with them because this is complicated as can be. And somebody needs to be able to explain it to them in sufficient detail for them to understand exactly what they're signing on to do. You know, they're gonna have to interview a whole bunch of people. They have to come up here, likely they'll have to come up here in person and interview a bunch of people. It's gonna take a lot of time.
A lot of money.
How much money are you looking at?
It's gonna be tens of thousands of dollars. And I don't think we have a choice. You say if, but I'm being honest with you. I don't know that there's another option.
Let me ask you a question. Say we did do this, and the person found did not deal, would the person that asked for the ethic charge, could they have to be paid for the ethic charge?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I've not seen any mechanism for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just kind of what it is. So.
But how would we, I mean, we can't do business with, what am I counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 complaints from the same person.
We have no choice.
Can we not consolidate those in one?
Well, we're going to have to send them all. I mean, you know, that's the thing. Like, and it's not going to change what has to
But
happen.
what keeps them from continuing next month that we have 15 more? I mean, how, eventually at what point,
And there will be more.
when there's no merit to it, when there's nothing done to it, if we don't have any, I mean, that we just continue to have
We
to
have to
deal
change.
with it.
Well, we have to change our ethics policy.
If they lose and have to be paid for it, that money.
Then that would be a deterrent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there isn't one right now.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've not been given a good answer on how. I mean, I guess the deterrent will be that everybody will be madder than a hornet about all this money it got spent.
Well, they don't right for wrong.
The lawyer will, yeah.
They do too, the ones got complaint. They don't right for wrong, so they pay the piper.
So here are the names of the people that I've been provided. This is
Taxpayers.
Nathan, the first individual, and I'm not talking to any of these people. So I'm gonna be contacting them completely cold. But I think that that's the only way that I can do it, to be honest. I'm not wrong for that.
Well, evidently they put him to.
Others do. See, I'm just giving you the whole lot.
What you say this was?
This is just a piece of paper that you're gonna rank your preferences.
Is this gentleman, is he a citizen of Mount Carmel?
No.
No, the person that's filing the complaints.
Don't you have to be a member of the community before you file any charge in somebody's account?
There's nothing that says that in code.
Have you been at the county?
So the one it is.
We've got a model, we have a model in that.
So he doesn't live here in Mount Carmel?
I don't know. Actually,
And Alderman Patrick, to clarify, just so that I don't want anybody accusing me of misleading, I said none of them are.
you're talking about the,
I was referring to the attorneys, not the people that make the complaints.
So you've got four options here. As I understand it, Ronald Wells and Benjamin Lauderback, they do a lot of work for either PDP or similar insurers, governmental tort liability work. They're highly familiar with municipal codes, municipal charters. They'll be able to conduct this investigation. Nathan Rao formerly was with from what I understand, the firm that Mr. Lauderback is with. He's done this kind of work for years, and he's presently the city attorney of Pigeon Forge. And then Mr. Rader is the city attorney in Cookville. So
Can you split these up?
say what?
So can you split these up, get maybe 3 or 4 of them to matter back?
Why would we do that?
And do that?
That's more money that would be spent.
Well, I mean,
It's gonna
then
cost the same thing.
no.
If one attorney charges one fee and another
There's
charges
7
another one.
complaints from the same person.
Well, you'd also have to have additional travel if you had 2 people, because like we're
Be a lot more
travel too.
expensive.
Well, we just got so much money just for one.
So, okay, so with that said,
I don't know if
with all that said, and part of the reason that we have to do it this way is that I can't make a judgment about whether or not these are credible, since they're against me. It would be easily subject to challenge, so I'm not gonna do it. I think that would be foolhardy to open myself up to something like that.
And four can't vote, just so it don't either.
And the code is mandatory that they shall be investigated. Any credible complaint shall be investigated. That's the problem. So if I could make a credibility determination, maybe we could dispense with some of them, but I can't do that.
Can the board vote on credibility?
No. So the first complaint, with all of that out behind us, at least, I'll say, at least MTS and Ethics Council for the Tennessee Ethics Commission said the board could not. They informed me that they would not recommend. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they'll have to do. So, yeah, I mean, he was asking if the third party that we provide these to can make a determination as to credibility. I think that they can, but they'll probably need some information first. You know, I don't know exactly how they'd be able to, you know, that'll be up to them to decide, right, what they deem credible. But in my mind, I think that they can do that. That would potentially dispense with something that they don't have to then investigate, but who knows?
These eyes blacked out anyway, how you gonna see it? Most of it's all blacked out.
Well, they'll just have to, they'll have to talk to the people that filed the complaints, so I'm sure that the documents, any documents that are not in pristine condition when we provide them to them will be provided to them at that time. So, now, and I guess see how y'all wanna do this. I'll go through each one, and if there's a complaint against a board member that the board wants to address within each one, y'all can do that at that time. The remaining complaints are just, moving on. How's that sound? Does that work for everybody? Okay. So, the first one is Mr. Griffin has filed an ethics complaint against the mayor, city manager, and myself. And the allegation is that the mayor and city manager let me lie in an open meeting, and that I lied to the members and the citizens who pay their salaries, and that I lied about Mr. Griffith, who's trying to bring businesses that everyone wants into this town. That's what it says. And he alleges that, I lied by stating that that I had 2 engineers say that the wall behind his building was 15 feet from the building and 20 feet tall. And he says it's actually 5 feet from the building, less than 8 feet tall. He also states that I lied by saying that the lawsuit was dismissed when the judge ruled it was through no fault of the town. And he's got some pictures in here that demonstrate that I lied. And then he says that the city manager lied. Or he made it sound like the person that filed it was lying about taking his building down when he stated that he had a demolition permit for over a year and had done nothing, when in fact the person complaining had to wait until the judge ruled when exactly he could take said building down. Their lies were in an effort to conceal facts about the building inspectors, and then in parentheses, Vince Kushner, wrongdoings and slanderous report, amongst other things, from the board and the citizens, and to hurt my credibility. Then he goes on, and I don't know if this is a complaint against former Mayor Williams or not, but I think there might be one in here later anyway. Yeah, I think there is.
There was one.
Another paper will show that Mr. Houser and interim mayor Jennifer Williams stopped the sale of my property, Houston Graham. And I was also told that they lied to a person over the Eagles Club who was interested in buying my Main Street property and blocked the sale once again by telling that person part of my property is owned by the railroad, which is not true. The owner of the property behind me is in fact the federal government who worked with me to take some trees down that were leaning onto my property when I bought it. All of this shows that extent these people will go to. Now, I'm not going to make any determination as to whether or not any of this falls underneath our code of ethics. However, I think the board has to determine whether or not the complaint that Mayor Stillwell allowed me to lie in a meeting, whether or not that has merit under our ethics code and should move forward or be investigated further. So, if you all would like to make that determination, please, now is the time.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we do not proceed further with that.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we want to vote on that? How do we want to vote on that? Roll call?
Yep.
That's fine.
Alderman Fletcher,
No.
Well, no, it does not move forward, or no?
No, it doesn't move forward.
Okay. How about the vote is,
Okay, yeah.
read,
So I'll make the motion that, no, we don't move forward with this, the complaint towards Mayor Stillwell.
okay.
So
And
a
I'll
yes
second
vote
that.
says no.
So a yes vote is not moving forward.
Right.
Okay.
So yes, not moving forward. Oh, excuse me.
It's supposed to be no if you're not gonna move forward.
let's
Got it kinda confused.
let's work on our language here. It says
I'll make the motion that we do not move forward with investigating the ethics complaint on Mayor Stillwell.
I'll
can,
second.
hold on.
Let's put it in the form of the ethics code, actually.
Okay.
So,
Because we've got a few of these, and I suspect we may be
When we
repeating
get that
the
first thing
same
down, okay.
a couple of times.
so how about you make a motion that, if this is your motion, that the ethics complaint does not have merit, and then a yes vote would agree with that statement.
Okay, yeah, I'll make the motion that
Blank doesn't have.
that the complaint doesn't have merit
Against
Not
Mayor Stillwell.
against Mayor Stillwell.
Alderman Fletcher.
No, does not have
It's yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
This is
Goodness. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody
Yes.
ready?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Alderman Gibson.
Yes.
Alderman Gill.
No.
Alderman McClain.
I'll excuse myself from the vote.
Alderman Patrick.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss.
yes.
And Mayor Stillwell.
I'm going to
No,
abstain.
I'm sorry, you
I was
do
gonna say
have to
I'm going
abstain.
from my
So,
name commission.
with that stated, the remaining allegations against myself and the city manager will move, and then if there is, here's the other thing, if there is some sort of complaint, an ethics complaint against somebody that's not an employee or a board member or an appointed official, then it's just nullified anyway. So anything against former Mayor Williams doesn't matter, because there's nothing the board can do to her. You know, the only, here's something else, and I should have said this earlier. If you find one of the board members has committed an ethical violation, you can publicly censure them. That's it, as I understand. You can't, they don't talk in our office. You know, it's not, that's the punishment. Now, if an employee or an appointed official has committed an ethical violation, they can be disciplined. But that's kind of where that ends. So a public censure is like a public statement. It would be the board coming together as a unit to say, like, you've messed up, and we do not condone your activities, essentially. That's what public censure amounts to. So, now, then I will ask the board, well, do we want to determine who will hear these as a third party before we go through them all? Okay, so I would now, I think we probably should just take 5 or 10 minutes and let everybody read through the bios that were supplied, and then rank their candidates for the third party review. And then after each of the complaints, we can have the board determine whether or not they want it reviewed by third party.
So I'll make a motion for a 10-minute recess.
We got a motion for a 10-minute recess. We have a second?
Yes.
All right. So essentially, this is about an email that Alden sent, which I don't, well, I'm not gonna say anything.
I'll make that motion that we, yes means that we do not proceed with any further
So
investigation.
here's the motion that Judge made. That your motion is that this complaint does not have merit as to Alderman Fleischauer. Yes means it does not have merit and it's over with. And that's where we're at. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay.
Alderman Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum,
Nope.
Alderman McLean,
I'll excuse myself again.
Alderman Patrick,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Vaughn.
We discussed the fact that, people could send emails out, because I had some directed against me too. So what exactly is the issue here? The language or what?
Yes, yes, that it's or that he was mentioned in there. You know, it doesn't, well, I've been neutralized to some degree in my ability to express my opinion on this.
Oh, okay. I'm going to abstain.
Mayor?
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, the motion passes.
All right, we'll move on to the next complaint. So this one, let me get my bearings here. It's an ethics complaint against the town, which you can't do, the building inspector, the city manager, and myself. It includes a number of pieces of paper in here, and this complaint is virtually completely about the lawsuit. The first paper is a copy of the engineer report. It's actually only a copy of one page of the engineer report, but that's not the point. And it says that he says that it states that the wall went against the International Building Code. Page 2 is a page from the building inspector's deposition, where he says he didn't have anything to do with the wall or the footer. Page 3 is another page from his deposition where he talked about inspecting the footer. Page 4 is an employee of the complainant who claims he was there on the site when the building inspector inspected the footer. Page 5, it says, show you the day that the building inspector told me how to build the wall. I called the mayor, Larry Frost, and talked to him about what the building inspector had told me on how to build the wall. And Mr. Frost is actually the one who told me where to buy the block to build the wall with. He admitted to the conversation in Builder's First Source in front of Greg Castle, who works there. My assistant, Lisa Leslie, was there during this conversation too. He listened to a video that was taken inside the 416 Main Street building, and he even admitted he thought the building may fall on its own. Page 6 will show the building inspector states under oath in depositions that he had an engineer's report saying the wall was safe, or he would not issue a building permit. So I think that one, pretty squarely has to be referred on, but I'll obviously wait for y'all's determination on that.
I'll make a motion to send it on.
Well, let's do them all at once, like you said. All right. The next complaint.
Is that letter F on the agenda item?
I think that we are now at,
We're going on to
Smith's D, E had no elected officials in it to.
yeah, we're now at F.
Okay.
And I'll just read this one to you. My name is Jim Griffith, and I want to file an ethics complaint on the city of Mount Carmel, the city attorney John Peavy, city manager Mike Castwright, and Chris Rose, the city insurance attorney. As I mentioned earlier, Chris is not a town employee, so he can't have an ethics complaint filed against him, and he's not an appointed official either. I'm sending an engineer report that the city of Mount Carmel paid for. This engineer report has been turned into the court already. In this report, you can see that the engineer states that the wall is backfilled with soil, and he states this on 3 different occasions, and in this report, he also states it is an on-site inspection. I'm sending pictures to show that everything in this report was based on a lie to try to cover up that the building inspector told me how to build the wall. And then there's a few pages of the report. It might all be in here, but I think there's a page. It looks like it's on there. Now the looks like the findings are missing, but it's no matter. All right, so now we're going on to G. All right. My name is Jim Griffith. I'm filing another ethics complaint. This one is on Vince Pishner, the town of Mount Carmel, Mike Castwright, and John Peavy for overlooking what Vince Pishner did. The first paper you will see in Vince Pishner's deposition that he stated that I told him I did not want that material used, that it had been laying out in a small pond and in the mud for several months. In the same paper, you can see that he is stuttering because he did not want to say that he got the approval letter from the contractor. So that material that he's discussing was that, I believe it was trusses that were used in the construction of the building on that site, which were they're a subject of the lawsuit. The second page is the contractor saying that he is the one that gave Pishner the approval letter. The third page shows the man that approved the trusses did not have the qualifications to do so. He is a shop foreman / truck driver. The fourth and fifth pages show that the contractor went to the truss company and told them to write, "Did not see mold" on one of the approval letters. The sixth page will show that I paid $1,400, assuming that means dollars, to try to eradicate the mold growing in my building. 14,000, sorry. But it did not work. You basically had to take the insulation out and the siding off to get to all of the mold. The seventh and eighth pages are the reports that came from Trust Company. The next page will explain the IBC, the International Building Code. The next 3 pages will show you the inspections that Mr. Pishner did of a sediment pond that does not even exist yet. The next 12 photos will show you the building coming apart. Then the next few photos is of how bad the mold was in the building after the inspector let them use the materials. Next photo will show the trusses after they lay in a pond for 54 days. And you can see the small bank that they flipped them over onto. The next 3 pages are where the trusses lay for 54 days, and you can see the warping and the mold on them already. The next 2 photos will show you the mold on the material. In all this evidence that is being shown to you, you can see that the building inspector did not care about the trusses falling apart, nor did he care about the mold that he let go into the building that could kill people. The town is responsible for trying to cover up all of this, and the building inspector needs to be charged with official misconduct and going against the IBC. My building was going to be a discount grocery store, and he did not care that the mold he let go into my building could contaminate the air and food. That's another one that, I can't make any determination on, and we'll just have to save for the end.
But what, isn't he at fault for not even trying to cover it up? I mean, don't he have to take some blame? He's the owner of it, I mean.
Can't really speculate on that.
Are these the pictures that you're talking about?
Let me speak
Yeah,
to
they're
that.
facts, so they came in black and white.
Yeah,
So you can't even tell what they are?
well, and I want what you all have received, this is exactly what we received.
Yeah.
Photographs and facts. I don't know if you know, but photographs don't typically work with facts. So I just want to be clear that, what you received is what we received.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. All I did was take the documents that came through the scanner at the office, and I ran them directly through, or they came to the fax machine, and I ran them directly through their scanner. So, sorry, I'm trying to get to the next one now. So this will be H, where we're going to
It
next.
was 8 teachers, right?
So, H is the complaint again from Ms. Parker that we've already discussed. So I'm not gonna go over it again.
We've already voted.
We've already voted on it, so, but I just wanted to have them all here, in the stack. So now we go to I. Don't worry, we only get to L, so. There's only,
We go to the next
ethics complaints only go to L on the agenda. I, J, K, L. So we only got 4 left. So this is an ethics complaint from Ms. Sexton. Let's see. I, Sherry Sexton, am filing an ethics complaint against Mount Carmel's Mike Housewright, City Administrator, City Manager, Pat Stillwell, Mayor, Kenny Lunsford, Jr., Police Chief, Vince Fishner, Building Inspector, and Emily Wood, Chief Financial Officer. Where do I begin? Let's start with some articles stating what was said in multiple BMA meetings, which I have dates for all news articles, where they came from, etc. These times and such shall be stated with each article that I am about to inform you on. A, in a February 11, 2021 news article from the Kingsport Times News, Mr. Mike Housewright stated that the leaking roof of the Animal Control Building, which is located in Mount Carmel, isn't the only problem with the building. There are structural issues. Pat Stillwell also took to Facebook in an attempt to make the employees of the Animal Control look bad by stating that our shelter has put down animals this year, which I commented back to correct her. So tell me why, if these so-called structural issues were so bad, did Mr. Fishner inspect the building on April 27, 2019, and then go on to report that there were minimal issues? These minimal issues being rotten door seal plate, guttering needed reattachment / installation, exposed wiring where a light was removed. I have pictures that are time-stamped of the inside roof / attic area, and there's no visible damage or leak anywhere. And furthermore, why on earth would you go to the expense of an $1,800 tankless water heater on July 20th, 2020 if the building had such bad structural damage? On April 12, 2021, I have text messages from myself to Mr. Lunsford Jr., which is where he states that we're starting the next chapter in Mount Carmel Animal Control. My response to that was, yeah, I see that I just need that off my back. Mike, referencing Mr. Housewright, hasn't spoken to me since our little talk over at the AC building. And Ms. Wood was talking to someone at City Hall last week and stated, let her, referencing myself, Sherry Sexton, work 7 days a week. She will get tired and quit, so we get rid of her ass. To which I simply said, and still say, why? No denial came from Mr. Lunsford, just this as a response. Just keep your head down, do your job, and don't give people a reason. I simply replied with, no disrespect, Chief, but I'm not holding my head down because I didn't do anything wrong, and I don't give people a reason. I never have, but I thank you for listening to me. So then we go on to, in April 21st, 2021 news article from the Kingsport Times News. They go after Pat Stillwell for being childish during the April 8th, 2021 BMA meeting. It also states that Mayor Pat Stillwell claimed out of the blue that I, Sherry Sexton, gained employment through nepotism and inappropriate allegation, and stated that I should be reduced to part-time status, an unconscionable attack on a full-time municipal employee. I attached in this complaint a Mount Carmel anti-nepotism clause, which she needs to read up on. I think that it was an attack on my character. It was because I would not keep my head down, so to speak. All of this comes after it was announced that no more animals were allowed at the shelter. I worked out of the same structurally unsound building up until the day that I was fired, which was May 6, 2021. So, now on to the very important question. If the building was so unsafe, why on earth did Vince Fishner not condemn it long ago? Why? Well, because he does what he is told. Because he is in fear of losing his job, because had he done his job properly, he would have stood up and told them that the building was safe and only needed a few repairs, which I state in the example A above. Mr. Housewright is quoted in April 29, 2021 Kingsport Times News article as saying, just because it has been functional to date doesn't mean it was ever safe. So, wait, Mr. Vince Fishner did an inspection on this building and approved it, yet it, and I quote, didn't mean it was ever safe. So what I gathered from this is that he let another employee and myself work out of a not safe building for years. This is undoubtedly not the first time that Mr. Vince Fishner has not properly done his job, nor is it the first time that his competency in his job has been in question. It seems to be a running theme that this man does what he is told, nothing more and nothing less. Because Mr. Mike Ashwright stated that the building may have been functional to date, but doesn't mean it was ever safe, leading anyone to believe he was negligent, because quite frankly, anyone with decent common sense would know that if it is not safe, then it is certainly and without doubt no longer functional. Videos and pictures will be provided. Now we move on to my firing. After me being verbally attacked and publicly humiliated, the notice says notice of separation is like a title. It is quoted that I was fired for failure to report an animal cruelty case because someone left a box of kittens at the AC doorstep. Mr. Mike Ashwright and Mr. Lunsford Jr. said it was animal cruelty under TCA 39-14-202 when it actually is under abandonment 10-108 Title 10 of the Animal Control Book. We had this happen on several occasions where someone abandoned/left animals for us to find. It was not a big deal on any of these occasions, and I would take to Facebook and show pictures of said animals in hopes of them finding out who had left them on the doorstep. It was up to them finding out who had left them on the doorstep. This case was no different than any other, except for the fact that my job was in question at this time. Statement summary. All this goes to show only a portion of the corruption and misconduct in this town. And while I understand things are not always easy to do and not everyone is going to always agree, this is beyond anything that anyone could ever imagine going on in their town. More and more people, more and more issues, corruption and unbelievable unprofessionalism continue to surface every single day. If this is not a sign to whomever it may concern, then I'm not sure what is, because it is becoming clearer every day that changes need to be made, and they need to be made immediately. Because I and many others are very sure that this is only the beginning of the journey. All right. We can discuss this one at the end as well. We can talk about it now.
Well, what's the difference between the two rules, between what she said and the chief? How different is that?
One is the state law, the Tennessee code, and the other, it says the animal control book. I'm assuming that's either our municipal code, animal control provision. It is, okay. So
With the handbook.
or the handbook. I don't know what the handbook is necessarily. Now our code provisions would be subordinate to the state if like they're in conflict. State law would control. It's got preemptive
State law,
status.
county law?
Yeah. So, I mean, this one implicates basically, half of the town.
I'll make the motion. So the only thing that we can, the discussion for the ones that we can't dismiss
Is the mayor.
is going to the end. But as far as in regards to Mayor Stillwell, I'll make the note that this motion is no merit.
Okay.
A second.
Wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to do them all at one time.
Well, we're doing the alderman ones as we go to get rid of them. So the allegations against the mayor are that, let me find them.
Information on Facebook.
She, went on Facebook and said that animals had been put down at the animal shelter, and that Ms. Sexton had gained her employment through nepotism.
One sounds like an opinion, and one sounds like incorrect information, which doesn't go against the code of ethics.
So we have a motion and a second to state that the complaint against the mayor is not merited and doesn't warrant further investigation. A no vote means that you believe it does not have merit, right? No.
That's right.
No, yes vote means it doesn't have merit. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired, Bill.
I know, we're only
So if you don't want it to be investigated any further, vote yes.
Alderman Fleischauer,
Yes.
Alderman Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum,
Nope.
Alderman McLean,
No.
Alderman Patrick,
I'll vote yes, but I think the mayor ought to offer an apology to her.
Vice Mayor Mobb,
No.
So there's three.
fails for lack of.
Fails for lack of a second. So we'll just discuss it all at the end. Sorry. Get me the next one now.
Wait a minute. I said no, right? That's what-
Yes.
I said yes.
Yes.
I was getting confused there, I thought.
Oh, it's confusing.
All right. The next one is item J on the agenda, and this one's just against me.
You know that one's going up forward.
Got no choice. So this one is about the fact that he's saying in this one that, if you want me to read it, I can. My name is Jim Griffith, and I'm filing an ethics complaint on John Peavy, Mount Carmel Town Attorney. In the Rogersville Review on October 4th, 2021, Mr. Peavy states that the ethics complaint requires that a full investigation take place, and City Attorney John Peavy requests, well, this actually is the title, I think, that another attorney conduct the investigation to ensure objectivity. He's referring to the Parker case. Given the politically fraught nature of the issue, it has become far more political than it likely should have been. We, as myself and Mr. Armstrong, have to work closely together. So my recommendation is that the board instruct me to find a neutral third party to conduct this investigation. That way, no matter the outcome, there could be no hint of bias either way as to how the outcome was determined. So, Mr. Peavy is saying that there will be no bias, that he picks out the attorney himself to handle the investigation. That's a little unethical too. So I've tried to solve that problem tonight by having y'all pick the lawyers. So I'm asking about the 5 ethics complaints I have sent in on Pat Stillwell, the mayor, Mike Housewright, the city manager, John Peavy, the city attorney, the alderman, Mindy Fleischauer, and Vince Bishner, the building inspector. When he just stated that an outside attorney should investigate the Parker case, is it not unethical for Mr. Peavy to get to pick that attorney? He states in the Parker case that a full investigation has to take place. Is it not unethical to try to get my ethics complaints dropped without a full investigation? Is it not unethical for the same people to vote on dropping my complaints, saying they have no merit? It's exactly like a judge getting a DUI and having to go to court, but he gets to be the judge over the case. So we will.
What was his complaint there?
The complaint is that I'm picking the lawyer to choose these, which
is not based in fact at all.
I'm not doing. Yeah,
Right.
so,
Like, why are we investigating something that's not based in fact?
What would this ethics charges the PD do to you?
say what?
What would happen if, say, we went something and they found out that the truth? What would happen to you there?
I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of things. I honestly, I can't tell you how it would be used, how that finding would be used. I couldn't. I know.
It's one person can ruin your whole life.
I mean, and then I guess that I could face some sort of disciplinary action from the town. I don't know what that would look like either.
Could have been the same.
Make a motion, send it over.
That's just my opinion.
So then we'll go to the next one.
That's actually.
All right. So we're at K. All right. Okay, so this one was fun. I, Jim Griffith, want to file an ethics complaint against John Peavy and Mike Housewright for letting an alderman, Mindy Fleischauer, do an interview with the Rogersville Review that is slanderous to myself and other individuals. She states in the Rogersville Review that she did not know me at all. However, she is leaving out the part that she visited my bar sometime in 2018 before she ever became an alderman. When she was running for that position for the first time, she wanted to see the information of what had happened to me in the town. But that is the one and only time I have ever had communication with this woman. She is stating in there that she has been threatened and stalked. I took to social media after my name was mentioned in an email sent to an elderly lady. As for me, she has slandered me over and over in this article. It says that you're lying about being threatened. In the article, you state that she states that she responded negatively and her email is highly inappropriate. Yet she was the one that sent the first email out to this elderly lady. That's what she talked. So here's the other thing. I don't think. Well, and this is all just kind of narrative because none of this part of this paragraph, there's no allegation against you. The complaint is that we allowed you to do an interview. And I will just say, I didn't know you'd done the interviews already.
I'm
So,
sorry, I didn't ask for permission. My bad.
I didn't know that I could stop you.
I didn't know that either. I thought that was like.
so the end, I think the end kind of sums it up. So, Mr. Biggie, Mr. Housewright, you keep condoning this woman's actions, slandering me and others, and writing awful emails to other women. These women are the people who are paying your salary. I'm also sending the very message that was sent to this other woman and the definition of libel, and she did all 5 things. So that one, obviously I can't make a determination on. All right, we've come to the end of our road here.
No, we ain't done that. Mr. Gardner.
Well, yeah, no, the last one is a complaint by Miss Dean against Miss Fleischauer, and it is also about the email that was sent. It's exactly about that. The only other person that's mentioned is me, where she, and it's not an allegation against me, I don't interpret it that way. She says, Mr. Peavy, you stated at the BMA that, you know, what had happened previously does not violate Mount Carmel's Code of Ethics. What about the disgusting, nasty talk she put on in the Facebook messages she has sent to me and other people that she is elected to serve? She stated that these things are in the past. These filthy letters to Mount Carmel citizens are in the present. I think you should show the BMA and the citizens of the town a copy of the, in quotes, Code of Ethics. Well, I gave you one. So now I guess the only question would be if you want to vote about the merits of that complaint before we wrap it all up discussing the ones against me and everybody else.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that this complaint does not have merit and we do not proceed.
Okay.
Second.
And so a yes says it does not have merit. L is on L.
Alderman Gibson.
Yes.
Alderman Gill.
Who? Oh, no.
Alderman McClain.
No.
Alderman Patrick.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baum.
Abstain.
Mayor Stillwell.
Yes.
All right. So now we have to circle back, and I'll write. It's gonna take me some time to put together an email that explains all this to somebody. But let me write down all the complaints that you have to vote about sending on to a third party. So C against Mike and myself. E against Vince, Mike, and myself. F against me, Mike, and Mike. Because Chris Rose he's not subject to our ethics code. G against Vince, Mike, and myself. H has already been decided, but whomever you all pick tonight, I'll send Ms. Parker's complaint to as well. I is Ms. Sexton against Mike, the chief, Vince, and Ms. Wood.
That's the mayor.
Yeah, but yours already been dismissed.
Oh, mine's dismissed.
J against me.
Sorry.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Which one you changed your vote on, Darby?
No, he didn't change it. It just
It was
didn't.
just
It
for
did.
clarification.
So that one goes forward. Sorry, Mayor. You're in this with us. K against me and Mike. And that's it. So now I need everyone's scores on outside counsel. We've got
You
2.
got mine and Sean.
And how do you say score them?
One is the person you want the most, four is the one is who I contact first, four is who I contact last, and we'll be running down the list.
What are you doing then? You gonna call it out?
Did you get a piece of paper?
Yeah, I got it.
What we're gonna do is just have everybody write down their list, and then, so like write 1 through 4 and write their names out on the side. And then we will do the math on that and see who gets the lowest score. We'll just determine who gets what scores, and then we'll go from there. No, you have to score them in order, otherwise we can't. We won't know, I won't know who to.
Never again. Never again. Confusion.
I don't know how the score's gonna turn out, but we'll see.
So your high score will be the latest one that you.
Yeah, that'd be who I contact last.
Forward.
Okay, one is equalized, one is
Right.
go get on board. But all these get paid the same, or how does that work?
I don't know.
I didn't know there might be a second round said already, like a gift.
That's checking on it. That's one thing.
Thousands of dollars. Just a runabout. When he knew. First, let's find him on another wreck.
Well, I need the names, yeah.
I figured you would do that.
So,
I started to do that. I was looking at my name.
so we need 3 more. Okay, here's one more.
There's 3 of them, right? There's 4 of them.
John,
Yes,
who is Benjamin?
Benjamin Waterbank.
I just don't know.
Agent Ford. Deposition. Auto wreck.
That's an hour and a half and also
Lots was there, said nothing about there, hey.
All right.
You want these back? I don't need them. Sure.
I can put them in the recycle. I can recycle them.
Oh, Lord. There's 2 meetings.
Everything's fine.
I know, I told you.
All right,
Big bad job.
we got a tie between, Mr. Rowell and Mr. Lauderback.
I just called and figured out who answers the phone first.
The same story.
Yeah, I make the motion that you contact them both and we check out with the one that's cheaper.
I make second.
Yes.
Or whoever it
Or
takes.
whoever takes it. All in favor?
All right, so I will contact, Mr. Rowell and Mr. Lauderback. Well, okay, no, so now that we've got an order, I would like the board to vote, which of these complaints that I listed off, or all of them, to be forwarded on to the third-party council to be investigated.
I make a motion for them all.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
We got a second. I guess roll call.
Alderman Blushour,
No. Not to move forward. Right?
there's no way to stop.
I should always stop.
Yeah, I want
You
the
want it on record
board,
what people say.
I want the board to vote to tell me to go hire this lawyer, or to hire one of these lawyers in the order that you picked.
But those two you said was tied, they was tied for first, right?
Yeah, they're time to first, yeah.
The question that's being posed to the board is whether we throw them all in together and send them. That would be a yes vote. A no vote would be that we're gonna split them up and send them different places.
No.
So they go out regardless of
So
what.
for what it's worth, I think send them all to one person is the best idea.
Yeah.
That's why I made the motion.
Because then you don't have to have multiple people getting up to speed on stuff. And the other thing is, they gotta be investigated. I guess what I'm really asking, so don't even worry about splitting them up. Well, you can fold this into motion, but I think they should all go the same place. What I'm really asking you to do is to affirm that you want me to contact these people and find one of them to investigate these complaints. So that's, you've made a motion that we do that. That's what the motion means. Okay? So,
Now, amend that motion,
sure.
that we do that and give you the right to pick one of the four through the order that we.
Yeah, that's what,
Is that what you're looking for?
yeah, because I just don't want it to be said that like, I
That you
picked the
pick-
person,
Right.
right? You know, that I need the board to choose. That's why I had you do the ranking, you know.
Start with the lowest, is it the highest,
Ethics.
lowest number?
Lowest number, and then I'll move up from there, and as you all stated previously, of the two that tied for lowest, whoever's cheaper is who will go.
We go through the poll and see if we can find somebody to take it.
And if nobody takes it, then I'll come back to you next month and we'll figure something else out.
Never how you need to word that, Mike.
Yeah, I'll be reviewing the audio for that.
So we got a motion, we've got that motion, do we have a second?
Vice Mayor.
We got a second from Vice Mayor, and so then let's just do all in favor.
All in favor, say aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. I'm gonna work that out.
Is that right?
I mean,
And like I said, if it come back, if it's all a waste of money, ain't no way we can make them pay for it, right?
I don't think so.
Well, you can check on that to
Okay.
see, I mean,
I'll check.
it's just useless, you making false claims, and we have to pay this much money, and they found out, I mean,
Somebody was upset.
it's just
If
like
they
money for
accept
taxpayers.
it, they can say that they're not
Credible.
credible.
They can do that, yeah. They'll be essentially endowed with whatever powers I would have as ethics officer to make that determination.